welcome everybody. So we just finished up with U without an umlaut and U with an umlaut, which we remember are U and U. And that was the end of all of the core sounds, the vowel pairings, and the syllable endings that we had to learn and investigate as part of understanding the pronunciation of Mandarin. Knowing that, you already know most of the meat of what is required to pronounce Pinyin and pronounce Mandarin. However, we're not done. So those are those vowels, vowel combinations, and those syllable endings are the core of what you need to do that. However, we need to add a little bit of variety to it, actually a lot of variety to different pronunciation, because unlike English, where we can really come up with any combination of letters and words and all sorts of things that we want to in order to produce words and communicate our ideas, Mandarin is not that fluid. It's not that flexible. There are a fixed number of viable syllables that make up the language. Now, we just went through and learned all the possible vowel sounds that we can find, as well as the N and the NG endings that create the core of those syllables. But in order to create variety, we're going to add a number of different consonants up front of these syllables. I'm going to take you through all of them right now. Now, the great thing is you already know how to pronounce the vast majority of these consonants. You use them every day. Most of them are going to be absolutely identical. Some of them will have to tweak a little bit. Some will need a little bit more breath over top of them. Some will be kind of a combination of different consonants that we use in English. And then one or two will be completely brand new. And again, as with everything we've been doing, take your time with this, okay? Some of these things will be easy for you. Others will maybe be challenging. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's also no way to know in a given moment which ones are going to be easy, which ones are going to be difficult, which ones will just maybe be a little bit confusing. If you run into something that seems difficult or confusing, the number one thing that I recommend is first, remember, have fun. We're all here just to have fun. That's the entire purpose of all of this. Learning Chinese has been a ton of fun for me. It's given me great friendship, and I want the same thing for you. So if you find yourself getting frustrated, or you find that maybe you just went through all the vowel videos and you're just doing everything you can to try to expose yourself to as much Mandarin learning as you possibly can all in one day, maybe take a little bit of a break. We only have so many cycles that our brain can go through in a given day. And after you get a ton of new information in particular relating to a language that is completely different from English, you need time for your brain to catch up. So if you get to a point with any of this where you feel like you're going, I don't know what's happening, or if you find that you keep having to go back to listen to the same concepts again and again and again, press pause, put it down. You're probably done for the day. Okay, just as an example, to give you an understanding of how much time this can really take, not because you are not capable of doing it, but because you are just asking your brain and your body to do completely new things. It's very tiring. So just to sort of set the table a little bit, set the scene. My first year in college, so for Chinese, I should say, my first year of studying Chinese in college, Chinese 101, we had class 5 days a week, and I had 4 to 5 hours of homework a night, 7 days a week. And that was what was required just to generate enough learning volume. Now, much of this homework and things like that was really just repetition, touching on prior concepts, but it was 4 to 5 hours a night, every single night. We couldn't do more. Like, in the amount of new concepts that we would touch on every single day would be maybe 10 minutes in class, 15 minutes in class, and then the rest was just upkeep of things that we had learned already. But a lot of that time, the reason it took so long was because it takes your brain that long just to navigate all of these new connections and these new concepts that are being created. I can tell you now, obviously, it would be extremely easy for me to go back and do all of that. All of the work that took me 5 hours then would take me 30 seconds now. But that's because I've been working on it for 17 years. If you're new to this and you find something challenging, that's your brain talking to you. It's saying, hey, I need a break. And give it a break. You need a break. You can't do something forever. Like if you think about going out and running, if you go for a run or you go exercise or you do something that's tiring, challenging in any way, you need a break. You need time. You need to give your body and your mind time to just gather everything that you have just fed it so that it can organize it and put it in the places that it needs to go so that those new concepts can become subconscious, so that all of that practice that you're doing can get baked in so you can learn. One thing I can promise you is while you're working on all of this, from the previous videos with the vowels, with the consonants now, and as we move on to just practicing syllables and getting into skits, you'll sleep really, really well. You'll sleep very well. That is one thing that I also have to really give learning Chinese credit, is it really helps me maintain great sleep because it is mentally challenging and in a rewarding way. So as we're going through all of this, please just keep in mind, if anything feels challenging, if anything feels tiring, it doesn't mean that you can't do it. It means that maybe, number one, maybe it's just a new concept, which is totally fine. There's nothing wrong with this. This just takes reps. It takes practice and reps. But if you find that as you've been going through this, you develop a bit of a routine, and all of a sudden one day, the routine that's been working for you for 5, 10, 15 days in a row suddenly isn't. Like those same, going to the same place, doing the same sort of studying, listening, saying the syllables to yourself. If it's suddenly starting, it seems many orders of magnitude more difficult than it used to, put it down. Just put it down. Maybe that's a day you need a rest day. In my experience, this will happen probably once every 2 weeks to once every 10 days. You'll just need a rest day. You'll need a day to step away from it, and you'll need a day to go do something else or to just sit around. You're not being lazy. I promise you that. You're not. Feeling a need to do those sorts of recuperative things, those lounging around, when you are studying this hard, lounging around isn't doing nothing. It's giving your brain time to catch up, your brain and your body, because your body needs to build new connections with your brain to make these new sounds. So be patient with yourself. Always remember, having fun is the number one priority here. Okay, all that said, let's jump into our consonants. Now, for all of these consonants I'm going to be showing you in this section, we're all going to be pairing consonant with the vowel A. And I'm going to be using first tone because we need to maintain that high register. We need to keep building that. We need to keep working on being comfortable in a slightly higher pitch than we would use for English. So for all of these, I'm going to be using A, open wide. You go to the dentist, open wide, ah. And then we're just going to be taking ah and adding a consonant in front of it. That's what all of this is going to be, okay? So our first consonant that we put up front is B. Now we know how to say B. B in Mandarin is said exactly the same way it is in English. So B-A, we get ba, 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 kind of like ba-ba black sheep. Ba, ba. Okay, great job. Next we have P. Now, P is said almost exactly the same way it is in English. However, we need to breathe through it much more heavily. So P-A would be said almost exactly the same way we'd say P-A in like grandpa. Yeah, that's my grandpa. But the P-A, that pa part in English is very quick. It's much quicker than it would be in Mandarin. In Mandarin, to say that P correctly, we need to say the P, and then we need to add a bunch of breath. over top of it. The cue that I use to kind of convey how we make this breath sound is, imagine you just made some chicken tenders in the little toaster oven and you're really hungry and you can't wait to eat them. So you pull them out and they're still piping hot and you take a bite and, oh, I should have waited, it was way too hot. What do we naturally do? Whenever we have a bite of food that's way too hot, we go, right? We breathe over top of it to try to cool it down. We need to do that when we say P. So it's P, and then over top of it. So P, so instead of just, we had ba, now PA, it's not just pa, it's pa, pa. You'll hear me go P, and then you'll hear and then pa. Now, I can tell you for a fact, this will seem silly. This will feel silly. However, if you deliver this in your conversation with a native speaker, it's going to make conversation a great deal smoother. It's going to ease things a great deal, because this is the way that people actually speak, okay? These little things like breathing over the top of a P is a big part of going from, oh, I'm using completely American English or completely English pronunciation and then just throwing it into the shape of Mandarin, going from that to actually speaking Mandarin the way Mandarin is spoken by native speakers makes a huge difference in fluency. You don't need to have really advanced vocabulary and things like that to be able to go around and speak with everyone. But the way that you pronounce your syllables makes a huge difference in the way that people relate to you, because that pronunciation, that accent, shows them, wow, this person put in time. They actually have been listening to the little nuances in the way that we just talk about getting up in the morning. That's the thing that really moves the needle in getting people to relate to you, is these little things like breathing over the top of the consonant P, okay? So please, once again, with all these different things that we're working on, some of them will feel weird. This will be one of them. Do not hesitate, okay? Really lean into it. Really embrace that feeling of maybe being a little embarrassed, because those little moments of embarrassment are actually invitations for people to come and show us that they see our effort and they appreciate it. So, BA was ba, ba ba black sheep. Ba, B is exactly the same. PA is like, oh, I'm gonna go see my grandpa. However, we need to add more breath over the top of the P. So pa, pa. Remember the chicken tender breath. Pa. Okay, great job. Next is our old favorite, M. We already know that M is identical because we used M to learn our tones. Ma, 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 ma. So MA is just ma, ma. The M is exactly the same as it is in English. Now, F. Next one is F. F is said exactly the same that it is in English. This is the exact same way. However, again, we need to put a little more force behind it, okay? So that's my father. In English, it's again very quick. We don't step on it too much. We just say, yeah, my father, or that's my friend. Fa, fa, and I want you to pay attention. The thing I'm doing differently is, again, like with P, I'm providing space for the breath itself. So, it's not breath because it's just the F sound, but I'm providing more emphasis on the F sound. Fa, fa, okay? Not just fa, fa. And you'll see the F and the A take up an equal amount of that syllable in terms of duration. So fa, it's not fa, it's fa. The A is quick. The A is going to be a little bit quicker than you will naturally feel like voicing it, and the F will be a bit longer. So fa. Okay, great job. Now, our next consonant is D. D is, again, pronounced exactly the same way it is in English. So D-A, da, da, da. There's zero difference. D in Mandarin is exactly the same sound that it is in English. Da, da, da. Okay, now we are on to T. And T, like P, is one of those that we have to voice, we have to breathe over. Not voice over, sorry, we have to breathe over a great deal more than we do in English. So in English, TA, so we would, our natural inclination would be like ta, ta, ta. We need to make room for the breath itself. So it becomes ta, ta. And I'm sure to many of you, the fact that I'm exhaling that much when I say my T, it might be a little bit kind of like nails on a chalkboard. This is something we really have to get used to, okay? Because not only are we learning how to pronounce things properly, but this also prepares your brain to hear these things. So when you go and speak with a native speaker of Mandarin, regardless of where they're from, these different nuances are going to be things that if you're not aware of them, they can totally catch you off guard. A perfect example is, in a later video, I will go over many of the different adjustments that happen from region to region in the way that things are pronounced. But for example, in the Beijing version of Mandarin, W's can be pronounced like V's sometimes. Now, in standardized Mandarin, there is no V initial. It doesn't exist. But in the Beijing dialect of it, it does. So, but my not understanding that, my lack of preparedness for that, led me into a situation where the first conversation I had to have on my own, the first time I went to China to study or to live or anything like that, way back in 2008, led me to standing in the hallway outside an auditorium, listening to my new language partner trying to say one sentence, just one sentence. She was just trying to convey a simple piece of information to me, and it took her a half hour because the shift in initial consonant from a W to a V was something that I wasn't ready for. And I was already so overwhelmed by learning so many new things and having just such an increased kind of volume of language input on a daily basis. That simple shift just totally shut my brain off. It just took everything offline, rather than learning how to roll past it and ignore it and listen to the rest of the sentence, which was totally normal, complete, just perfect putonghua or perfect standardized Mandarin. I got hung up on this one consonant and it completely derailed me for a whole half hour. And she was patient as can be. She today is one of my best friends in the world because of that patience that she showed. But these are things we need to be ready for. So I'm not being this precise just because I enjoy precision and I think precision is the way to go. No. I am sharing these things with you this way because hearing these little differences and these little tweaks now will save you a lot of deer in the headlights moments in the future. These are the deer in the headlights moments that I have spent almost 2 decades running into time and time again. You don't need to do that, okay? I'm doing it for you. So that's why when I say there's going to be more breath than you're used to. And that may seem very odd. Like, why does this guy insist on exhaling so hard with his T? Isn't this a little over precise? It's not about asking you to be overly precise. It's about preparing you for the fact that when you go and speak with native speakers, you may well run into this. And that's totally normal. It's totally okay. I just want you to be prepared for it. Okay? So TA is ta, ta, breathing over the top of it a little more forcefully than we normally would. Ta. Okay? Next, N, N-A, na. N is pronounced exactly the same way it is in English. Na, na. L is our next consonant. L-A is also pronounced exactly the same way it would be in English. L is identical. L, so la, la. And after that we have G. G, again, pronounced exactly the same way we do in English. So G-A, ga, ga, ga. And again, let's keep that first tone up. It'll feel weird. It'll feel a little goofy. That's the whole point. We want to familiarize ourselves with these things that, from an English perspective, feel goofy, but for Mandarin, they're the way to speak. It's what's required. Then, after G, we have K. K is another one of those chicken tender breath consonants that we have to deal with, or that we have to get comfortable with. So we would normally say ka, just ka, but we need to breathe over top of it a little more than we naturally feel like we want to. So it's ka, ka, ka. Just remember to add a little more breath. K that we're used to, a little more breath, and then A, we're at the dentist, open wide, ah, ka. Okay, next we have H. H, just like it is in English, but as you guessed, a little more forceful. So, ha. The H is probably going to be 30 to 50% stronger than what we would say in English. So the HA is like, oh, ha, ha, but we have to lean into it even more. Ha, ha. And again, you'll notice with this H, an H in English is pretty quick. In Mandarin, the H and the A take up an equal amount of space in this syllable. Ha, ha. Actually, the H might even take up a little more space, but that's okay. It's just that balance. The H is much more pronounced. It's a much more significant portion of the speaking than it is with what we're used to in English. Okay, now we're on to some of our newer stuff. So all of those we're all very used to, with the exception of breathing over the top of them a little more forcefully. They're all identical, everything that we've just gone through so far. If you just read those letters and say them the way you want to in English, you'll be fine, totally fine. Now we're moving on to some new ones, some ones that we will recognize and be asked to say new things with, or some combinations that just might not make any sense to us. All okay. It's just part of learning. Again, if you run into things where you feel like, ooh, this is too much new stuff in one day, put it down. It'll be here tomorrow. It'll be here the next day. Once you feel like you kind of have that interest, that kind of that pull to come back and keep listening, great, come back then. So we just did H, ha, now we're on to Z. And a Z in Pinyin, a Z in Mandarin is not smooth kind of the way it is in English, where we go Z, right? Here it's staccato, like a DZ, Z, Z. So it's za, za. With the ZA, the best way I can describe it is there's an abbreviation in certain parts of the country where instead of saying, let's go get some pizza, people will just say, hey, you want to go get some za? It's like that, za, except the Z is said like a DZ. So zzz, zzz, just like when your friends comes up and like jabs you a little bit, zzz, DZ, and then AH, za, za. You'll know you're doing it the right way because you'll actually feel a little bit of pressure kind of build up in your throat and in your windpipe, because you need to build up a little bit of breath behind this before you kind of let it out over your tongue. So it's not za and you voice it all the way through. It's za, za. It's more staccatoed. Okay, then after that we have CA. Now naturally you're going to want to say, oh, that's also like KA, so it's got to be a k sound. No. C is pronounced like TS. whenever you're reading Mandarin, whenever you're reading Pinyin, not when you're reading Mandarin characters, when you're reading Pinyin, it's TS, okay? So CA, standalone in Pinyin, is pronounced like ca. So C is pronounced like a TS. Kind of think about if you're, say you go and listen to a jazz band and there's someone just gently tapping on the cymbals in the back. Something like that. That's the exact sound that you want to use with C. So it's ca, ca, ca. Okay, great job. So those are two that are brand new. Those will take a little bit of time. Your brain will want to ask you to do something a little different with them. That's okay. It'll just take a little bit of time. Next we have S. S is pronounced identically with the way we speak in English. It's exactly the same. It's just, so SA is just sa. There's no difference whatsoever. Sa. Now we move on to ZH, CH, and SH. Now, these are the consonant combinations up front. With I, for example, where we had zh, ch, sh, here we're going to keep sticking with A. ZH is pronounced like a J, exactly like a J. So whenever you see ZH up front of anything, just know that's an English J. Say it just like a J, and you'll be saying it perfectly. So ZHA is ja, ja, ja. This is going to be one of those that you just need to get your brain used to. Whenever you see ZH, just say a J. That's it. ZH equals J. Ja. Okay, now CH is said just the same way it is in English, just with a little more force over the top. So cha, cha, cha. Again, you can hear that breath. Cha. Then again, now we have SH. SH is identical to what we say in English. Sha, sha, sha. Okay, now we move on to the last five, which are the trickiest to get through, and they will take the most time to become comfortable with. So we have R in two different situations. So for this one, I'm going to get you working with a brand new series of sounds. So R is not, it's kind of like what we say in English, but not really. R here really sounds sort of like the revving of a motorcycle engine or a little outboard engine. So for this one, I'm going to ask that you use, let's say OU, which remembers a long O. R plus OU is how you say meat, for example. Zhou. Fourth tone is zhou. Zhou. Now, the thing you'll hear me say is it's an R kind of put in a blender with a J. What we're used, you're gonna want to say this from your throat. You're gonna want to say ro. That comes from my chest. It comes from my throat. This one happens right behind my teeth, and it's, so think about J. Say a j with me, because you'll feel the force of the air being pushed kind of behind the bottom of your teeth when you say that. The bottom of your bottom teeth, kind of back behind them. That's where this sound happens. If you say something is hot, it is that, I just fell flat on the sidewalk sound, the with a standalone E. R plus that standalone E, fourth tone is how we say it. It's really hot. Now you'll hear, I'm not saying ruh, it's ruh. I like to think about 80% an R that we're used to plus 20% of a J. This one's going to take time. So we can use zhe, which means hot. We can use zhou, which is how we say meat, like chicken or beef. Chicken is 鸡肉. Beef is 牛肉. Okay? So, if the way you can get there is if you just kind of think about if you think of somebody revving like a four-wheeler, like an ATV, the sound it makes, and then back off the J there a little bit. It's more R. So, it's really hot here. 很热. I'm going to just say 热 5 times for you so you can hear this sound. It's a completely new sound. It does not exist in English. And this is the first of 5 that are going to be that way. If you can get these ones down, then you will have completely succeeded in all of your pronunciation goals. These are the ones that are going to be the hardest to get used to, and you'll just have to spend some time on. But really, that's the fun of it. Once you do these, then you've done all of the hard work. This is the last real hurdle. These 5 consonants are the last real hurdle between you and being able to just go play with Pinyin. Okay? So R-E, 4th tone, is how we say it's hot. 很热, 热. You're going to start with R. It's going to sound like you're trying to say R-U-H. And that's going to happen back here in your throat. And what we need to do is move it forward. 热. The way that you know you're doing it correctly is you don't have to open your jaw to say it. 热, 热. And it's going to, again, sound like maybe a Ducati. Somebody's revving a Ducati or like a really fast motorcycle out on your kind of the front walk outside. Think about what that sounds like. And then try to recreate that sound. And then just roll with that sound right into that E. 热, 热. So someone revs an engine, and then right into the E. 热, 热. Or with the long O, O-U, which is the long O sound. O. 肉 is how we say meat. So rev the engine, and then long O, 4th tone. 肉, 肉, 肉. Okay, great job. I know that's brand new. Great job. The fact that you just listened to this and you're making it through it and you're trying it is all that matters right now. It's just going to take a little bit of time. Okay? Next, we have kind of a standalone syllable that I want to take you through. And that is R-I. R-I is its own unique instance in Pinyin, but it's a sound that does not exist in English at all, but it's very important because R-I, 4th tone, is how we talk about a particular day. It's also how we talk about the sun. It's a big part of saying the word Sunday and things like that. It's also how you talk about kind of sunset, sunrise. It's an important syllable to be exposed to and to really work hard on. And it is So I just said there's one R, which is zhe. It's zhe, and that one happens at the front of your mouth. Happens more in the back of your mouth. And that's what it is. R-I is this sound. It is This one took me more than a year. Might have taken me a couple of years. Honestly, I can't remember, but I know it took me a really long time to even get close to pronouncing this. I think I may have completed an entire Chinese major before I could say this syllable correctly. But there's a really neat trick to finding how to say this correctly. And what that is think of kind of a haunted house Halloween movie. Again, Scooby-Doo has a lot of these, but in a lot of them, there's this time where a door, an old creaky door in an old house creaks open and it goes, makes that sound. I'm sorry, I hope that wasn't too loud, but that's that sound. That door creaking open. If you make that sound, please try to make that sound right now. I want you to practice that with me right now. Go somewhere where you won't feel weird, your room, I don't know, outside, a park, the woods, wherever you feel comfortable, just being goofy, trying sounds. I would like you to go out and make that kind of Halloween haunted door or haunted house, old door on creaky hinges, creaking open, like that. That is how you say this syllable, okay? That's how you say it. It's I know that Q may seem a little goofy, but that is how you isolate that sound. So the way you say Sunday is, it can be 星期日, 周日, or 礼拜日. I know that sounds weird. You probably hear me saying 2 syllables and then just noise. He's just making noise. Well, that's what part of this is going to be, is taking those parts that feel like just weird noise that is nonsense and learning that no, in fact, that is part of a word, or that is a word itself. So, creaky door, R-I, and so I'll keep it with first tone, but the only way it ever gets used is fourth tone. And that's how you say it means either day, or can talk about the sun, but the character itself is actually a kind of a rectangle with a line through it. It's meant to represent the sun. So, okay. Now, we're on to J, Q, and X. And for these ones, I will be using I, just a standalone I, because that's what they get paired with. They get paired with I vowel combinations, and then the U with an umlaut, okay? These are kind of in between consonant sounds. They live between different word or different consonants that we're used to saying, and these will take time. Across the board, they all are that we will exhale over them rather forcefully, and they will all feel a little kind of whistly through our teeth. But so J, Q, and X. So J-I is, it's not, you're gonna wanna say G, that's not what it is. It's Z, Z. So J-I is Z, Z, Z. It's like you take a J, and then that staccato DZ, the Z sound in Pinyin, and you smash them together. So it's J-I is Z, Z, Z. So the way you say opportunity, for example, is 机会. 机会. It's not 这. The one that you will have difficulty kind of distinguishing between for J is ZH and J. Those two are they will probably get a little mixed up in your head. 这, ZH is a real strong English J that we're used to. 这. That one you have full confidence in. Know that this one is different, okay? It's a lot of breath, and it's a J plus the DZ sound together. 机, 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 okay? Next we have Q. Q is a combination of a CH and a TS. So it's qi, qi. Again, you hear that breath whistling through my teeth. Qi. You're gonna want to say chi. That's not what it is. You need the t's, the TA's t's to be woven in with this. Qi, qi. So we just had zi. Now we have qi, and our last one is X. X is one that you just have to memorize. There are a lot of people who do a lot of weird things pretending that they know how to pronounce Mandarin and they know how to pronounce Pinyin. By and large, they do not. X is pronounced like an S blended in with an SH. So it's si, si. And again, you hear that whistling through my teeth. There's so much air going over my two teeth right here. When I say all of these, it is something that you have to just create for yourself, and you have to get used to just trying with yourself, okay? So this is C, so J, J-I, again, is Z, and then we have C, and lastly, which is Q-I, and lastly we have X-I, which is C. So one more time, we have Z, C, C, and these are the ones that are going to just take time. These are going to take time. Now, we're going to run into these in a number of different syllables, and you will find that some are more natural to use than others. The main thing to remember with these is they are not ZH, CH, SH. They're pronounced differently. They happen with more breath, and they're a mix. So J, again, is J plus that DZ kind of staccato sound. Z, Z. Q is CH plus a TS. T, T. If you're saying chi, and it's that much more kind of a fuller sound, it's not correct. You gotta have to remember that TS in there. T, and then X. This one you're gonna wanna say, you're gonna go back and forth probably between saying like an S and saying like a full-on SH. It's right in the middle. And actually, with this one, I'm gonna do it briefly, but I don't wanna do it too much because it could be a little kind of tough on the recording. The way that you can find the X sound is start with an S, going S, just make that sound, S, and then bring it across to an SH. Go from back and forth between an S and an SH. In between, right in the middle of those two, is where the proper pronunciation for X is, okay? So I'll do that again. And X, which is right in the middle. It's where you leave the super hissy S, but you haven't gone all the way to a full SH, okay? So one more time, it's Z, C, and C. Great job. That's it. We have done all of the consonants. So one more time, I will go through them all just as a review. B, just like it is in English. Ba. P, just like it is in English, but with more breath. Pa. M, exactly like it is in English. Ma. F, same thing, but a little more forceful. Fa. D is identical to the D we use in English. Da. T is very similar, but we breathe over top of it. Remember that chicken tender fresh out of the oven breath. Ta. N, identical. Na. L, also identical. La. G, again, identical. Ga. K, very similar, but with breath over the top. Ka. H is the same concept. It is very similar to what we say in English. It's just more forceful, probably 30 to 50% stronger than an English H. So ha, 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 okay? Z. Z is not a smooth Z it's not the smooth Z we're used to. It's not like, oh, let's go to the zoo where we just gently roll into it. It's staccatoed, it's quick. So it's za, za. You'll know you're doing it correctly when you feel a little bit of pressure or tension build up in your throat and your mouth before you say it. Za, za. Okay. C. C is pronounced like a TS. That's it. C is not pronounced like a K. It's pronounced like a TS. This is something you're just going to have to remind yourself of. Okay, so CA is pronounced ca, ca, and this is one that has the breath and it takes up more space than we're really used to. Ca, okay, TS plus some breath. Ca. Okay, S, identical, exact same thing as in English. Sa. Now, ZH is just pronounced like a J. You read ZH, just J. It's just a J. Ja. CH is very similar to what it is in English, just with that more forceful exhale. Cha. 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 Again, hear that breath. Cha. Now, SH, identical. You can hit the breath a little more forcefully if you want to, but you don't have to. Sha. Sha. Okay, now on to the ones that don't use A. We have R. Like, oh, it's really hot out. R and the fall on the sidewalk, standalone E. Zhua. Zhua. Remember, rev that Ducati, rev that fast motorcycle out front of your house. Zhua. Zhua. Or with the OU, long O. Zhou. Rev that engine. And then zhou. So it's thinking about revving that motorcycle engine out front of your house. Zhou. Now, RI, the brand new one, the one that just sounds like a creaky door. Remember, just the creaky Halloween door. Before Scooby and the gang walk in and discover a monster. Creaking open for dramatic effect. So that creaky door is the best way you can find it, in my opinion. JQX are brand new consonants. They're a mix of different things, okay? J is a combination of the J that we're used to plus that DZ sound. So JI is pronounced like Z. Okay, Q is a combination of CH and a TS. So QI is C, and X is a combination of S and SH. The way you can find that is going back and forth between the S and the SH. You'll find it right in the middle. So XI is C, C, and with XI, with X in particular, you'll know you're doing it the right way when you are breathing over your teeth so much with that whistling sound that your middle teeth on the bottom will actually feel a little cold because you're putting that much air through them, or over them, I should say. So XI is C. So one more time, we have J, JI, Z, QI, C, and XI, C. All right, everybody, that's it. We've gone through all the consonants. So in the next videos, I'm going to be taking you through every single syllable that exists in Pinyin and showing you how to find it in English. You can use these videos if you want, or you can go out and just try it out for yourself. I recommend using them. They will be very helpful. But you now, between having gone through the previous vowel videos and now listening to this this consonant pronunciation video, you have everything you need to learn how to go use Pinyin as part of your learning journey towards achieving the ability to speak Mandarin and go out and explore the world using Mandarin. So, well done. I'm really proud of you. I hope that you find this helpful. Please always have fun. Just have fun with this. This is here to make your life better. It can be a ton of fun. It will bring friendship into your life that you can't possibly imagine. I know this. I say this with conviction because this is just something that's happened to me hundreds, maybe thousands of times over the course of the past 17 years. These are little tweaks that I've found along the way. In 17 years, you come up with a lot of different tricks. And I hope sharing them with you kind of just continues to build that interest, build that intrigue, and build your enthusiasm to continue using Mandarin to just go out and explore and have fun with it.